Okay. Um, well, thank you and welcome to my presentation. Okay, got it. So for my project, I did a cartographic survey of Golden Ranch Fire District. And I have to thank Andrew Grogan. He sent out an email, I think in April, and let everybody know about an event, an AGIC event at Borderlands Brewery, and I ended up meeting somebody there who works at Northwest Fire District named Johanna Kraus, and she let me know that Golden Ranch Fire District was going to be doing like a self-audit as part of an accreditation process, and that they were going to need a number of maps. And so she contacted Golden Ranch Fire District, and I ended up working with Eric Perry, who is a division chief there, and putting together some maps for a document that they had called Golden Ranch Fire District Community Risk Assessment Standards of Cover. And it was accreditation through the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. It ended up being a lot of maps. It was over 30 different layouts. Some of them were by emergency service zones, so the fire district as a whole is broken into 10 different emergency service zones, each one with its own station. And that's kind of the area that station is primarily responsible for. So I covered things like hydrants and the water purveyors that provide water for those hydrants, and wildfire risk, and some demographics maps, and travel time and service area. So it's a pretty wide-ranging number of layouts that were made. Just to give a little bit of background on the fire district, is founded in 1977. There's a map of it there on the left. It is in Pima and Pinal County, which ended up being a little bit of a stumbling block occasionally, because I was having to get data from a lot of different sources, and sometimes it would end at one county or the other, and we have to kind of stitch it together. There's about 100,000 people in the fire district, so it's pretty low density. Most of them are in the kind of the southern part of it, Oro Valley. That's the largest population center. There's about 50,000 people there. And yeah, that's just a little bit of background on the fire district itself. And just a couple quick things on the data. It came from a lot of different places because the nature of the project was kind of a survey. So it was coming from Census Bureau, it was coming from different government agencies, cities, towns. So for the important layers that were relevant for the layouts that I covered in the paper, I mapped them out. So one of them was this CAD centerlines layer, and that was really important for a lot of different things, especially for the travel time analysis, any of the service area. The CAD centerlines layer, which is a computer-aided dispatch, was important for making the network data set. But also all of the maps of roads that I made, for example, there was a class field, and I could use the class field to sort of set up a hierarchy of the roads. So there were, highways, major roads, minor roads. So anyway, so for the essential layers, I mapped them out for the paper. For all of the data sets, and there were, I think, 23 at the end of the project, I made these tables for the paper, but also for the fire district, because they could incorporate it into their accreditation document, and I use that to make sure that I gave it's kind of citing all the sources of the data. Without going into too much detail, I want to give a couple examples of how this was a collaborative process. I hope this isn't too much in the way. There we go, that's better. So for this particular, for this particular layout, I had to use data from City of Marana, City of Oro Valley, Pima County, and then also something that the fire district had put together, which was just like a paper document, which I will image of, and that was all incorporated, into the map that you see on the right. It's just kind of an overview of different development within the district and kind of different types and where they were located. So the data sometimes was provided by the fire district, and then sometimes it was things that I had to go out and get. So I thought this was kind of a good example of that. This is another example of how we kind of collaborated. So it would start out pretty rough. So for the demographics maps, one of the things we went back and forth on was including census blocks and doing it that way, or by emergency service zone. So this first map on the left, I think it was for population density, but it was just an example for them to see where the census blocks were and whether or not they wanted to use census blocks as a way to present the demographics information. And then I would make sort of a number of different options, and that's kind of what the middle layout is representative of. So it was a different color. We went through, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different color options that I kind of presented them with. It was all based on their logo, basically. So we tried different things, and that middle stage is obviously kind of rough. Like I have the underscores still in the legend, and so through emails and sending things back and forth, we ended up settling on the senior population layout that is on the far right, and it included like a chart and a smaller map that broke the demographics down by emergency service zone, as opposed to the kind of more detailed census block information. I don't want to get too hung up on the details of the workflow, but basically for the project and for the paper, I went into more depth on 2 of the layouts. So one of them was senior population, and it was kind of representative of all of the demographics maps. Kind of all had the same setup, and a similar process of combining the shapefile of census blocks with the tabular information. In this case, it was age and sex, and then sort of creating fields for the population over 65, and then normalizing so that we could get a percentage, so that we could make comparisons. The other one that I covered in the paper was Northwest Fire District and Tucson Fire Department stations that could reach the Golder Ranch Fire District within 8 minutes. They wanted those 2 fire districts in particular. And so I ended up making a map that has sort of color-coded service area polygons, and they also wanted the road network as well to be color-coded. So they kind of wanted both elements in the same map. And so that involved using the service area solver to get the polygons, and then joining that again with that cat centerlines layer, and then kind of using a hierarchy with the major and minor roads so it didn't get too busy, and then making a layout that had kind of 2 maps that hopefully work in tandem to explain which Northwest Fire District and Tucson Fire Department stations could get into the district within 8 minutes. Yeah, so overall, like I said, there were like 30 layouts in the end. And so part of the challenge, I guess, the project was working with the fire district and getting everything um, uh, sort of uniform and consistent and easy to read. So in this case, this was the roads that were color coded by which station would reach a location first. So this was kind of like an example of like a district wide map. And then also they wanted kind of two sets that were by emergency service zone. So one was for population density. So what is the population density? In this case, it was by census block for each emergency service zone. And then also hydrants. So there's an example of that earlier, but basically how many hydrants are in that emergency service zone and what are the water purveyors for those hydrants. Yeah, so just really quickly, a couple things that I was looking to achieve with the demographics layouts was to have a good figure ground relationship and to include the boundaries of the census blocks that extended beyond the district so that it wasn't misleading in any way. So, but at the same time, I wanted the viewer to focus on the inside of the district. So that was kind of achieved through a drop shadow around the whole district, and then basically making two layers so that the outer the census blocks beyond the district are transparent, and so they're kind of less saturated and they recede into the background. And then something that sort of became a convention for all of the maps was like a visual hierarchy of the text in the legend. I tried to keep the colors consistent across so that you could look at the legend and it would be the same in the inset and in the chart and in the main map. This one, I think that the main thing was trying to get both maps to work together. So the top one, it shows the emergency service zone numbers for Golden Ranch Fire District, and it has the Northwest Fire District and Tucson Fire Department as sort of chunked together, not by station, but sort of their overall footprint in the district. And then in the larger map below, you can see it's broken down by station, and it gives you a little bit more information about the road network. And again, we have like both the polygons and the lines, which was something that the fire district wanted. So I'm just going to let this kind of play out. I was going to give some different examples of the maps that were made while I like briefly go over the conclusions. So yeah, the main thing with it was that it was really a collaborative project. So it was fun working with the fire district, working with Eric and Johanna, and trying to meet the needs of a client, which was new for me because up to this point, all of my experience in GIS has been in the classroom. So this was a really cool opportunity to do something in the real world. Yeah, and the other major takeaway was that you can never be too careful with data management and just taking care of where all of your files are and naming and all that, because this was the most data by far that I've ever worked with because there's just so many data sets from so many disparate locations. So those are kind of the two big takeaways for me from the project. So yeah, I guess I'll stop there. I think maybe a few seconds early, but I think that's about 15 minutes. So, all right. Thank you.